Kristen, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to have a chance to spend some time with you and Sarah today. Absolutely. So I teach three different brands. I started out at Harvard Extension School and then quickly started teaching in the Harvard Summer School and more recently in the brand known as Professional Executive Development. And each of them are unique, although there's a lot of commonality, and all of them have certain special elements of them that make them very, very fun and very exciting to be a part of. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love teaching in general, right? It was not a bucket list item. I didn't have any academics in my family, but I was sort of invited to teach at MIT about 20 plus years ago and instantly realized how much I love to teach. And what I love about the extension school is the students show up. So, as an example, a lot of the courses that I teach, because these are full time employees and they take a lot of their courses at night, and in many cases, they could be dialing in from India, from China, from South Korea, from Australia, where it is very, very early in the morning. And they act as if they're, coming into a 9 a.m. class or a 1 p.m. class, completely engaged, completely prepared, right? They're just very committed to their learning. And what makes that special is, unfortunately, all as professors have had experiences with students who are working full time, where they're just trying to get the credential as quickly as they can. And this is a very different experience, which makes it so much more satisfying when you know that the students are with you every step of the way. My camera is on my, yeah, it's right on, it's a web camera, but it's my MacBook default camera. All right, I got you. Okay. Do we want to do a do-over? It's up to you. If you'd want me to do it, it's really hard for me not to look at someone when I'm talking, but I'm going to discipline myself to do that. Okay? All right. Yeah, I'm going to look at the camera. I'm going to really work hard not to look at you guys. Okay. All right. So, as a teacher, it's really important that the students in the classroom come to learn, right? There's a very, very significant level of satisfaction that comes when you know that the students are there with you when they want to learn. And it just allows any professor or any teacher to take their abilities to the next level. So, what I have found within Harvard Extension is the students are exactly in that frame of mind. They come to learn, they come with a growth mindset. And because they're all full-time employees, a lot of them are, juggling families and full-time jobs, and they're coming to class often at nighttime and almost exclusively over Zoom. And some of them are coming, they're dialing in from China, they're dialing in from India, they're dialing in from South Korea, from Australia, or parts of Europe. And yet, none of that affects their willingness to lean into the class, to fully participate, and to be, really a part of the learning community. And for a teacher, that is just such a satisfying thing. So, and I think that's a very unique element of Harvard in general, and it's certainly unique to the Extension School. Yeah, these students are, I think there's a self selection that happens. That when a student decides they're going to, pursue a degree in the evening, um, they have a lot of choices, right? We both know they have lots and lots of choices. And I think the students that decide that they want to pursue a degree or, a certificate at the Harvard Extension School, they're making a very clear decision that they want to study with the best, both the best teachers as well as the best students. And you can see the camaraderie amongst the students. Many of them are taking courses together, and you can see them forming relationships. And I get to see their interactions in the classroom and in the capstone project. So I think these are just students that want to be at the top of their game. Yeah, so I am a music festival junkie, right? We all have to find that part of our lives that allows us to sort of live in the moment. And I spend a significant amount of my time over 3 day weekends traveling all around the world to listen to live music. It's just, I can't tell you how much joy it brings me, right? You can forget about everything in your life and just be there, be present for the music. And a lot of times, winding up, leaning against the stage, and just probably would embarrass myself if my students saw how into it I was. But I love live music, and I love 3 day festivals where it's just a barrage of so many different artists and sounds over so many different stages. I kind of live for that stuff. Yeah. The last one I went to was it's a every year it's been running in San Francisco in Golden Gate State Park, and it's called Hardly Strictly Bluegrass, and it's completely Americana. It's Memphis blues, it's Muscle Shoals, it's New Orleans, it's Mississippi Delta. It's just every imaginable kind of American roots music, and it's 3 days in Golden State Park, and the weather is just perfection at that time of year. So it's one of my favorites. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And it's a great question, Sarah, because I really love teaching across that whole continuum from bright high school students all the way through executives. But with professional executive development, it gives me the chance to sort of interact with people that are often mid-career, even late career professionals that bring a wealth of business experience into the classroom. And they're there because they want to be able to change the way that they do something within their own career, within their own business. So when they come in, they expect to bring something back to their office, to their team, to their department that's going to allow them to be better at what they do than before they came. And so there's often this inside joke amongst professors that when we teach in a lot of exec ed programs, we assign preparatory readings and videos and podcasts, but we often don't expect the students to have done a lot of that preparatory work, right? Not necessarily ideal, but that's just the nature of the world. When I'm teaching in the Harvard Professional Executive Development Program, the students have read the case studies, they've read the readings, they've listened to the podcast, they've watched the videos, and they are willing, from the very first moment that we begin the class, to discuss what they've learned and to share their perspectives and their opinions. And so right out of the gate, we've got a lot of energy in the classroom, and it's just a wonderful way to kind of start off. So I'd say that's one very important reason. Yeah, I think, it's really building on what I just said, right? Again, I think there's a certain level of self-selection, right? Again, there's many, many places that you can take a certificate course where you may not have to travel, right? So in the last course I taught, which was an artificial intelligence course, we had students that flew in literally from Poland, from Chile, from Asia to literally take a 2 day course. So you can imagine if you're going to travel that kind of distance to take a 2 day course, you're there for one reason. You're there to learn. And so the other thing that I think, really made this group special was, we've all stayed very connected, right? I mean, because I'm teaching a subject which is AI, and because it is moving so quickly, there was a real interest on the part of the cohort. It's about 25 students in the cohort to continue to share what they're seeing in the world, what they're learning, what they're observing. And so it's become a bit of a learning community, which I absolutely love. And I haven't seen that happen in a lot of other programs that I've taught in. So I think that's a very unique element of what we see. Yeah. Yeah. Kristen, I have to say that the summer school experience for me, and I've had some amazing teaching experiences, but it's one of the highlights of my teaching career. And the reason I say that is I have had the privilege over the last several years to teach in this compressed summer school session, teaching an introduction to entrepreneurship course. And even though it is an undergraduate course, the majority of the students in the course are really bright high school students, often sophomores and juniors. Many of them taking international baccalaureate programs or studying in very rigorous institutions, and they come from all around the world. And I have been consistently blown away by how precocious they are, how enthusiastic they are, how quickly they learn. And one of the things that's been just a joy for me is how I've had a chance, right? Because they're at that pivotal point in their lives where they're getting ready to go to college. And so I become sort of a mentor to them and a sounding board. And many of them, as they come through, as they inevitably do, through Boston to visit Harvard and some of the other great institutions in our home state, I wind up having dinner with their parents and their siblings. And I've become sort of an extended member of the families of many of these young men and women, which has been unbelievably satisfying. And recently we had a young woman who wound up, just as an example of the kind of caliber of the students, right? She just graduated. She took the course last summer. She was a sophomore. She's still 16 years old, and she was part of a small team of three young high school students that beat 800 other teams globally in the Harvard Global Case Competition, right? So this is an example of the caliber of the students, and I cannot tell you what a joy it is to be a part of their learning experiences. They get ready to go off to college. It's been amazing. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, this population of students, right? You can imagine, right, when you're a student and you have your summer to yourself, there are so many fun things that you can do. And not that they may not find studying at Harvard fun, but you're making an incredible commitment. And these are summer students, they are sophomores and juniors. And there's a level of discipline and a level of growth mindset that, quite frankly, I don't see in high school student populations anywhere, right? The density of the caliber of the students, and this is a classroom that is, it's confined to only 25, right? Because it's a very high touch class. You can't teach entrepreneurship in a book. It's a very experiential kind of process. And so I want to make sure that there's enough of me to mentor all 25 of these students. And so within the context of that classroom, the density of quality in that classroom is staggering, right? It's just such an incredible joy to see these students striving to be at their best and to be a part of that process. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome.